guys and welcome to my channel. My name is Beth and I am the Bookworm Tray, and welcome to a video that I have been putting off filming for like nearly 2 months now. I don't know what it is about talking about the best and worst books of last year that is just really not appealing to me, but yeah, I just don't want to film this video. And because I don't want to film this video, it is probably going to be filmed in a bit of a weird way, in that I'm just going to talk about some books that I enjoyed, that I didn't enjoy, and that were kind of surprising, and I don't really know if they're going to be in any order. So yeah, apologies if you came for that good content. I don't know why you came here looking for it. Also, new makeup look, tell me what you think. Like, this is so toned down for me that I just actually don't know. I don't know what's going on here. When I wear makeup, like, I need the world to see the makeup, and this, my ring just came off. I don't want to film this video. Okay, let's start off with the good. Also, look at my raggedy ass bit of paper. That's how long I have put off filming this. Okay, yeah, we'll start off with the good. We'll get into the tea later on. So these aren't going to be in any particular order because I don't actually know what order I would put my top books from last year in. I need to put my hair like this because I did not iron my t-shirt. So I'm going to start off by talking about some books that kind of surprised me by getting into my top books of the year, because if you'd have asked me in 2018 if these books would have been books that I would have enjoyed, I would have said no. I hate those kind of books. I am not going to enjoy them. The first ones I want to talk about are Daisy Jones and the Six and the 7.5 Husbands. It's not 7.5 Husbands, is it? Idiot. And the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Now, I am not somebody who enjoys historical fiction. I would go as far as to say I despise historical fiction. Every single historical fiction book that I have read since the age of 18, when I was weirdly into it, I haven't enjoyed. I have not enjoyed. And yeah, so I had no intentions of reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo until one day I just thought, I'm gonna listen to it. I've been hearing about this book so much, I need to listen to it. I just need to do it. I was looking for an audiobook and I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna listen to Evelyn Hugo. And I listened to it in like 2 days. I was just absolutely obsessed with it. I thought it was so different to anything that I had read, and as someone who is predominantly a fantasy reader, it was like really refreshing and a really good palate cleanser, and it was just, it was amazing. I am mixed race, and I think Monique, if the narrator, was also mixed race, and I love mixed race rep in books because it's something that I'm finding there's a little bit more of now, but growing up it was never, like, I never experienced it, and I don't think it matters what the mix is. There is something unique to being someone who is a mix of cultures or races, where you sometimes find yourself questioning your identity, and although it was touched very briefly on in this book, it was there and I just connected. So then she released Daisy Jones and the Six, and I was like, no. Hell no. Evelyn Hugo was a fluke. It cannot happen again. On top of that, I also hate books about musicians, films about musicians, TV shows about musicians, apart from Josie and the Pussycats, obviously, because that is the best film. Oh, and I like musicals, I just don't like films about celebrity singers. Yeah, I just didn't think it was going to be a book that I would enjoy, and then one day I just thought, I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna listen to the audiobook, see if it lives up to the hype, and boy did it. I would find it really difficult to pick between Daisy Jones and the Six and the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Yeah, I don't actually think I could pick which one I preferred. I think at the time of finishing Daisy Jones, I was like, no, it's great, but it's not quite as good as Evelyn Hugo, and I think I initially gave it a 4-star, but like the week after, possibly up to like 2 weeks after reading that book, I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and like I just wanted to listen to the songs so badly and like hear her voice so badly that I just had to up it to 5 stars. I just think Taylor Jenkins Reid is such a talented author in the way that she's able to bring these characters to life and make them feel, because they do feel so real, they feel like you could Google them and bam, they would pop up and you'd be like, oh, that's what Daisy Jones looks like. Right, let's have a little listen to the songs now. So yeah, she got me. She proved me wrong. BookTube was right. BookTube was right. I can't wait to see what she does next. So I'm going to talk about another pair of books again that were surprising. And I have Rachel from Rachel Marie's Book Journey, I think that's her channel name, to thank for these. She did a video where she read some romance books, and one of these romance books was Punk 57. And the day that she happened to release that video was also a day that I happened to be doing a 24-hour read long. And I think I was reading Serpent and Dove. I don't remember. I think it was Serpent and Dove and Truly Devious. I know I was reading Truly Devious. And neither of those books will be mentioned again in this video. Unless, you know, you want me to talk about my most average reads of the year. And I was just kind of intrigued by the plot a little bit, and I thought, you know what, I'm doing a 24-hour readathon. It's gonna be tough. There's a lot of like angst going on in my reads. I might pick this up as like a little palette cleanser, and you know, if I get a bit bogged down in all the YA-ness, I can just, I think I listened to it on audio, so I can just like listen to a chapter or two. And yeah, it pretty much fucked up my readathon plans because I put it on and I could not stop listening. I put it on and I could not stop listening to it. I literally listened to it all night, and I was like finding things to do, because when I listen to an audiobook I can't just sit there and listen, I have to be doing something. So I think I like dyed my hair, did like a load of cleaning, did a load of cooking and meal prep, just so I could keep listening to it because I was absorbed in it. And then we got to the sexy scenes and oh, it was hot. It was hot. And after finishing that I thought, I need to read more. I need more Penelope Douglas in my life. And I immediately went and picked up Birthday Girl, which is one of her other standalone books. And oh my god, I loved it even more. The reason I'm mentioning Punk 57 when there is a clear superior to it is because Punk 57 opened the floodgates for me. I have not been able to stop reading romance since this. But Birthday Girl was like my perfect book. Like, I can't talk about it too much because I'm just going to get real flustered. But it was just, it was very sexy. It made me realise what I want out of a romance book, which is age gap romance that is very taboo but also somehow not creepy. It's a thin line. It's a thin line. And I have read a lot of romance since then, but nothing has been able to come anywhere near Birthday Girl, and then just slightly below that Punk 57. Those two are just the ultimate books. And I think if you are someone who is interested in reading romance books but doesn't really know where to start and is a bit worried about them, I wouldn't say these are like soft, sweet romances. They're not, but they're so well written and so intriguing and so tense that I think they would be a good place to start. So that would be my recommendation to you. They are on my top list for last year, and Birthday Girl is probably one of my all-time favourite books. Like, I will probably reread that soon, bearing in mind I only read it like 3 months ago. I could probably have reread it straight after finishing it. It was so good. Like, I have it on Kindle Unlimited and I just can't bring myself to return it because I just like seeing it there on my Kindle shelf. And like, I'm debating buying a paperback just because I love Penelope Douglas's writing so much. I want to support her and just give her that coin. So the next like good books I'm going to talk about, I will probably not talk about as much because they're not as life-changing for me. They were books that I wasn't surprised that I liked. The first one being The Hazelwood. This was one of my top books of the year, and I guess this one was a little bit more surprising than the other two that I'll talk about in a second, because I thought this would be like a 3 or a 4 star. This is a YA dark whimsical tale, which is my thing, so I don't know why I didn't think I'd like it that much. I guess I just hadn't heard a lot about it, and I think the only thing I'd heard is that it's kind of like a 2-part tale and people preferred like the first half or the second half. They didn't like the whole book. So I thought, oh, it's, you know, it's a good idea. It's probably just like maybe not executed that well. I flew through this. I absolutely adored it. It was, oh, perfection. Because this one is a little less known, I will just quickly talk about what this book is about. It is about a girl called Alice Proserpine. I can't remember her name. Her name is Alice, and she lives with her mum, and they have to travel around a lot because they seem to attract bad luck wherever they go. And Alice's grandmother was a writer of these infamous dark fairy tales which have like a cult following, but it's really hard to get hold of any of the books. And there was a movie made, but the movie doesn't really tell you anything about the fairy tale. And I don't want to get too much into it and too much into spoilers, but it turns out there is more to these stories than Alice originally thought. I was just so captivated by this world. I love fairy tales. I've always loved fairy tales. And in my books, I just love dark shit and whimsical shit. So if you bring them together and you add in a bit of portal fantasy, like, this is what you get, and this is perfection. I read this for a buddy read, and the other 2 girls that I read it with had the exact same feelings. We all loved it. So the next book that I'm going to talk about, that is in my top books of 2019, is Wundersmith, which is the second book in the Morrigan Crow series. I don't know what the series is actually called. This is the naked hardback, which is stunning. I read this book for a readathon, I can't remember which one, and I really enjoyed Nevermore. I think I gave Nevermore like a high 3 stars, possibly a 4 star. Definitely wasn't a 5-star read for me, but I really enjoyed it, and I am typically someone who struggles a little bit with middle grade, but I'd really enjoyed Nevermore. To give you an overview of Nevermore, obviously I can't talk about what this book is about, but it's about a cursed child. She's due to die on her 11th birthday, and on her 11th birthday a man called Jupiter North comes and steals her away to a land called Nevermore, where she is trying to enroll in a special school for people with special abilities, but Morrigan doesn't know what her ability is and doesn't think that she has one. Turns out she does. So Wundersmith is what happens after that. I wouldn't say this is a perfect book, which is kind of weird, being that it's in my top books of the year, and I would say that every other book on here, there's nothing that I would change about it. There are things that I didn't like in this book. I felt like there was too many similarities to the Harry Potter series with some of the things in the magical school. There was like some weird woods that were similar kind of to the Forbidden Forest, like reminiscent of the Forbidden Forest. Maybe not similar, but reminded me of it. Just little things like that that I would have preferred not to be in this. But I was just captivated by this. This book is in the my top books more because of how it made me feel, and it just made me feel like cozy, and it's hard to explain. It just made me feel the way that I felt when I was reading Harry Potter for the first time, in that I just felt so absorbed in this world and in this story and in these characters. And in some ways I do think it's better than Harry Potter. I think Jupiter North is what Dumbledore should have been. But yeah, it makes me feel cozy when I read it and nostalgic, and again it's got that whimsical aspect to it that I just really love. And yeah, I just think this is a fabulous series. I cannot wait for Hollowpox, which is the next book in this series and is one of my 5-star predictions for 2020. And if you haven't picked this book up yet because maybe you don't just haven't, or you don't read middle grade, I would definitely recommend it because it doesn't feel like middle grade. It feels like an ageless book in the way that Harry Potter is and other books that do not spring to mind right now. And the last good book that I am going to talk about is Muse of Nightmares. And I know I said there was no order, but I actually think this is my favourite book of the year, and I just love her so much. This is my Illumicrate version, which has never been read because it is far too pretty. This is my read and tabbed version of this book because I loved it so much. Now, I am someone who usually struggle with the end of a series. So I'm that weird person who likes the second book in a trilogy because I know the world, I know the characters, nothing bad's gonna happen to my babies. But this was better than Strange the Dreamer, and I will fight anyone who does not agree with me on that. This was so much better, and like just thinking about all the things that happened in this book. I'm not going to go into what Strange the Dreamer is about. I'm sure you guys know. If not, don't even bother finding out, just pick it up and read it because it is the book. This is perfection. This is what true love looks like. How can I even talk about this? This book had me laughing, crying, and everything that comes between. I was like gasping. I just couldn't stop reading it. I have a hardback, I have a paperback, I have an ebook. I'll probably get the audio book soon and reread it, listening to it. Like, if I could go and live in a book, it would be this series because I can't even find words. I'm brain dead. This broke my heart, then it remade it, then it broke it again. Like, it was so sad and it was so good. Oh, and there was a romance in it that just gave me everything that I needed. None of that was coherent. None of that made any sense. I just can't talk about this book because words cannot do it justice. I do not have the ability to explain to you why this was so good because I am not Laini Taylor and I am not a wordsmith. I am just a poor, humble girl from the UK in love with this book, and I just hope you can see that, guys. I've taken a minute following my breakdown about Muse of Nightmares. I love it. It's family. So we're going to talk about the bad books now. I might have to split this video into 2 sections, but I'm hoping not. So we'll talk about the bad books, and I don't think it will take as long as my gushing because I don't have a lot to say about these books. They were just bad. And these are only books that I finished. Like, I think I read worse books than these, but I didn't finish them, I DNF'd them, and I didn't keep track of the books that I DNF'd last year, and I don't remember them because they were bad. This year I'm definitely going to keep track of the books that I DNF so that when I do this video next year, I can talk about the actual worst books that I read, because if a book is bad, I don't tend to finish it. So where to start with these? We will start with Neil Gaiman. I read 2 books from Neil Gaiman this year. He was an author I really wanted to try, and I was just really disappointed with both of them. I read Stardust and I read The Graveyard Book. So I said already I struggle with middle grade. I read The Graveyard Book. It's a middle grade book, and I thought maybe it's me and it's not the book's fault. The Graveyard Book is quite an interesting concept. It is kind of a retelling of The Jungle Book, but set in a graveyard. So we have the orphan child who is rather than being brought up by jungle creatures, he's being brought up by ghosts. That's about where the interest stops. I couldn't connect to this book whatsoever. I couldn't connect to Bod, I think is the name of the little boy. I couldn't connect to the ghosts. I couldn't connect to the baddie. I just couldn't connect. I couldn't really tell you what the overall plot of this book was because I was bored the whole way through. I'm not going to go into it any more than that because I just don't really have anything more to say about it. I then, later on in the year, I read Stardust for The Bookie Trials, I think it was. And the same thing. It was a short story. I don't really connect with short stories, so it could be that. But I've seen the film Stardust and I absolutely love that film. So I thought I would love the book. But I could not connect with any character. I couldn't even really follow the story because I was bored the whole way through. And my buddy read group, we read a book every month, and we all happened to be doing the Bookie Trial, so we were all reading this book as well, and all of us had the same thoughts, that it was really boring and really difficult to connect to. And I'm really sorry to say, but Stardust is a case where the film is better than the book. Don't come for me, I'm just saying. I don't think I will try any more Neil Gaiman books. I just don't have an interest. I don't think I connect with his writing. And there are just some authors that I have this with that they're not for me. An example, and again, don't come for me, Leigh Bardugo. I can't. Do you know how many times I've DNF'd Six of Crows? Like, I'm sorry guys, I really tried. I wanted to like it, but we just don't gel. We just don't gel. And another author I have found this with, who's made it onto my list of worst books, is Rainbow Rowell. Just can't connect. I actually can't remember why this book is on my worst books of the year. Like, I remember why, but I don't remember why. So I read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before. And I didn't mind it, but I just felt like that book should have been shorter than it was. It felt like it ended and then Rainbow Rowell wrote another 10,000 words. So I wasn't really interested in trying any more of her books. I was kind of considering reading Carry On, but I had Attachments and I thought it sounded really interesting and I wanted to read it. So I read it and I didn't mind it. And then I hated the ending, but I just can't remember what happened. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna tell you about the book now, and then future Beth is gonna look and find out why she actually hated this book, and then she's gonna tell you about it. So Attachments is about, I think it's quite an old book as well. It's about this office where this guy is working in IT and his job is basically check everyone's emails. So if someone puts a rude word or something in their emails, it will trigger and then he will read it, and then if they shouldn't be sending that kind of stuff, he sends them an email and tells them to stop. He really hates his job, and there are two girls in the office and they keep triggering this whatever it is system to send him their email. He hasn't sent them any warnings because he can't stop reading their emails. He thinks they're super interesting and he starts kind of getting some feelings towards one of the girls, and I just thought it was really like a really interesting concept, and I was just really intrigued by the book, and it was quite short and I thought I'm gonna read it, and then something happened and I'm gonna tell you about that right now. Hi guys, so it's future Beth here, who also happens to be sick Beth, so apologies. So I really struggled to find out what it was exactly about this book that I hated. Most of the reviews were pretty good. And although I agreed with a lot of the negative comments, they weren't the specific thing that made this one of the worst books I read. So most of the negativity that I've read about this book comes from the characters themselves. So we have Beth, who is our main love interest, and her friend. And they just are really annoying. Beth has this like super sexy rock star boyfriend who's really nice to her, but she just wants him to be someone who he isn't, and because of that she just isn't great to him, and yet puts all of the blame for all of the problems in their relationship on him. Her friend has this wonderful husband who really wants to have children. She doesn't want to have children, but then she gets pregnant and spends the whole time being really negative about her pregnancy, despite the fact that she clearly wants this baby. It's a bit awkward. Then we have our male love interest. Again, his name has slipped my mind. He is this really geeky guy who plays Dungeons and Dragons. He lives with his mum. Although he's like very intelligent, he doesn't really have any drive to go and do anything with his life. But he's also like super hot, but he has no confidence. He's not a real person. Like, guys like that do not exist. I am sorry. And I just found that really annoying about him. He was just so weak. And I'm all for like a soft boy in a romance. Like, I love that. But I did not like his character. He was kind of pathetic and I wasn't here for it. And a lot of his issues seem to stem from his high school girlfriend breaking up with him. Now, their relationship was disgusting, quite frankly. He was creepy towards her, kind of possessive, and in some ways quite controlling as well. And like, nope, wasn't there for that. And this relationship had ended, I'm going to say 10 years ago. That's just a guess, but it was definitely like a significant amount of time. He hadn't been with another woman since. It just wasn't like, it wasn't cute, it was creepy. Now, if this story had been about him building his confidence and moving on from the trauma of this past relationship, I probably could have got behind the book, but he was only able to move on and better himself because he wanted to be good enough for Beth. And it wasn't about being a good person, being someone who is able to see his worth as an individual. He still equated being successful with having a relationship with a woman, and like, for me that's just really unhealthy, and it's just something that I really dislike in romance. And at the point of reading this book, I wasn't reading romance, so I probably wasn't able to put that together at the time. Just knew that it kind of made me feel a bit icky, whereas now looking back on it, I'm like, oh hell no, like that's what I hate. I hate romance books where the relationship isn't healthy. Like, one person in the relationship isn't healthy, and rather than that person growing on their own and developing on their own so that in the future they can have this relationship with this individual, when they are only able to find themselves through the relationship, is just something that makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. So yeah, that is, I think, why I hated this book. Also, this guy was basically stalking this woman, and like, she just thought it was cute and romantic. That was another little kind of icky thing about this book, but those are my thoughts. So the next book that I'm going to talk about is a romance book. So after Punk 57, I went a bit crazy and I just basically read romance and nothing else. And I was reading books by an author called LJ Shen, and initially I was enjoying them, and then they kind of started getting a little bit worse. And then I read her most recent one and it was terrible. So it was Broken Night. It follows two characters that we're kind of already familiar with from the other books in her series, and their names are Night, stupid name, and Luna. Luna is a selective mute, so she can speak but she chooses not to. Night is the adopted child of two characters whose book had already been written. And they've been like childhood best friends slash kind of sweethearts who've like kind of been saving themselves for each other. But ugh. So these characters were just so unlikable, so unlikable. Luna was selfish. She was selfish and self-centered. Sorry, had to pause for a second while my husband took a shower because it was loud. And I don't really remember what I was saying, but I'm messy. So I think I said, the last thing I said was that Luna was selfish, and she is, but Night, oh, he is the worst. He is just the worst male character I think I have ever read. He is disgusting, like, the entitlement. So they're like in love, and then they have this argument about nothing. So Luna's like, right, I'm going off to college, I'm not talking to you anymore. Even though they've been friends their whole lives, it's ridiculous. and then she has sex with someone else, and the consent is questionable. Luna at no point indicates that she feels like she has been taken advantage of. However, she was too drunk to remember it in the morning, which makes me feel a little uncomfy, guys. There is another scene later on where she performs oral sex on Night, and she doesn't think that she consented to it, but it turns out she did. Why? Why did that need to be a plot line? So yeah, if you want to read a book that's like a bit icky, a bit uncomfortable, really unlikable characters, a weird, sad side plot that is like heartbreaking and made me cry, then read this book. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Once and Future, and I think quite a few people have put this on their worst books of 2019, at least the people that I watch anyway, and it's Once and Future. Did I just say that? I don't know. This was how my buddy group read book club thing started. We were all reading this book, and we met through the Magical Readathon, and we were all really excited because this book sounds amazing. I love fairy tales. In that I kind of also encompass myths and legends. I'm not really sure which one, or why I'm conducting. I'm not really sure which one the Arthur, I guess it's a legend, isn't it? The Legend of King Arthur. So I was really excited for a retelling of this, set in space with a diverse cast of characters. I was like, this is going to be great. We all thought it would be great. It was trash. I'm sorry. I hated this book. I just did not enjoy it. It was odd, is how I would describe this. It was oddly interesting and oddly boring. The characters were ugh, disgusting. The romance, awkward. The plot, what? I don't remember a plot. What happened? I remember something about a space prison. Is that a spoiler? I don't know. If it is, I'm sorry. Yeah, like I can't actually even give you a synopsis because I don't. There's a evil corporation. It's just like generic. It was just generic YA thrown into a diverse cast of characters. But yeah, it kind of felt like a checklist. We had non-binary character, we had bisexual characters, gay characters, a character from all different races. I think there was a black one. There's like, I think Ari is supposed to be, who's the main character. I felt like she was supposed to be like Middle Eastern. We had East Asian. Yeah, it just was all a bit, it was, I don't want to say it was too much, because I think you can have a diverse cast of characters and it be perfect, and that's really what we should have in books because that's representative of our lives. But it just felt like, rather than these characters organically being a black gay character or a Middle Eastern non-binary character, it was like, right, we need this. These are our characters, so this one's wearing this hat, this one's wearing that hat, which it just didn't feel authentic, and I think that's very detrimental to what the book was actually trying to do, because I think it's important to have diverse books, and it's important for there to be good diverse books. Yeah, so overall this book just made me a bit sad, really. It wasn't very good. I didn't think the rep was good. I really don't like it when they talk about people being brown. And I think they did that in this book. I'm brown. There are people from every single ethnicity, apart from Caucasian, I suppose, who are brown. Like, it just... minor gripe, but I hated that book. And the last book on this list is my least favourite book of the year, and again, no order, except that one kind of was in an order, but this book was so bad. This book was Gideon the Ninth. Oh. And again, another diverse book. I don't want diverse books to be on my worst list of the year. It makes me feel bad. I want these books to be shouted and screamed about and everyone to read them and get this diversity into their lives. I don't want them to be crappy books. First of all, is this a diverse book is my question, because I didn't see a romance in it personally, but I could have missed it because I could not tell you one thing that happened in Gideon the Ninth. I think she had a sword fight on a table. That's one thing I can tell you. I did not know what was going on in this book whatsoever. I could not remember the names of the characters. They all seemed to have about 10,000 names. There was something to do with a skeleton. I can't even like adequately critique this book because what was this book? What was this book about? I wish somebody would just come and just tell me what happened in this book. Would somebody just make a video just explaining Gideon the Ninth, and then I can tell you why I don't like it. Because I don't know what it was about. I read the whole book and I don't know what it was about. I don't know what the plot was. We're gonna have to leave it at that, guys, because I don't know what this book was about. And I read the entire book. So those are my rambly thoughts on my best and worst books of the year. And just as a little treat before I go, let me give you a controversial opinion on a book I did not really enjoy that much. It is a book that I gave, I believe, 3 stars, so it doesn't quite fit in my worst. It definitely doesn't fit in my best. I think it would be called my most disappointing book of the year. I did consider making like a disappointing and surprising, but I couldn't be bothered. But I do just want to talk about this because I've got a lot of feelings and it's Dark Dawn. Okay, I can just feel the hate. I can feel it. Okay, Dark Dawn. I really struggled to get through this. Bearing in mind, Nevernight is one of my favourite books. I actually enjoyed God's Grave more than Nevernight. This was really disappointing for me, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to warn you now, it has spoilers. So if you haven't read this book and don't want to be spoiled for it, then just, this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. You can leave. It's been lovely seeing you. Come back soon. But I'm going to spoil you, so go away. The ending to this book was a 1-star ending for me. Yeah, there was videos going around of people sobbing as they read towards the end of Dark Dawn. And I was like, oh my god, I am gonna die. Like, I'm gonna love this book. And I assume, I don't know, but I assume people were crying about Mia dying, and no, didn't get me. I didn't even realise she was dead. Why did I not realise that she was dead? Because she wasn't dead, was she? Yeah. This is my least favourite thing in a book. Give me insta-love. Give me insta-love any day over Resurrection. One Resurrection, I can maybe forgive. I can maybe forgive him for bringing Trick back. I could say, you know what, fine, Jay. It added to the story. I enjoyed it. But then to bring Ashlyn back, no, that's going too far now. You're pushing your luck. Ashlyn died. She needs to stay dead. Otherwise, there was no point in her dying. And the fact that you dragged tears out of my eyes as some kind of sick joke, and then you just bring her back, those emotions were pointless. And then, so we spend the whole series thinking that Mia's gonna die, and I'm getting all amped up like, when's she gonna die? When's she gonna die? When's she gonna die? Like, your girl loves and lives for dark, depressing endings. I thought Jay, with his little cold black heart, was gonna be the man to fulfill my heart's desire. And what did he do? He fucking threw it back in my face, didn't he? He brought her back. I just can't believe he did that to me. Honestly. Sorry guys, I just need a moment. Don't get me wrong, I love this series still. I still think it is an amazing world that he's created. Mia is one of my ultimate favourite fictional heroines. This is a good example of diversity in books where your character is organically bisexual, I guess. Mia is bisexual, I don't know. And it feels natural and it isn't forced, shoveled in there. Still love this book, still love this series, Still would recommend it. We'll probably reread it at some point, but Jay, you did me dirty. This was my most disappointing read of the year, and I'm sorry guys, don't come for me, but I wanted Mia to stay dead. Okay, so there we have it. I hope you enjoyed your tea. Never gonna do that again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about any of these books. Don't hate me. I've got to be honest. I've got to speak from the heart. I'm sorry if I offended you. I love you, and hopefully come back and see me in another video soon. Bye.